wrote this for all the people basically that came through the pandemic, who, you know, like the nurses, the doctors, the people that were picking up the refuse, the people in the banks, the people in the supermarkets, all the people that went out to work and basically didn't have PPE. This is called Stand Up for the Heroes. Stand up for the heroes. Ooh, yeah. I gotta tell you the way that I'm feeling. I can't believe the things I'm seeing. Word is unsteady on his feet. The weak may try to hold back the tide. You know we got to stand up for the heroes. Stand up for all those who give their tomorrows. Stand up for the heroes. When it came to the call, the wings carried us on. Oh, 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 yeah. I'll never forget the faces falling in battle, but never lost to me. Never has been so much food to so few. Oh, no. I swear that sacrifice won't be repaid, but I'll try. Oh, yes, I'll try. Stand up for the heroes. Stand up for all those who gave their tomorrows. Stand up for the heroes. When it came to the call, the wings carried us all. Come on, stand up. Stand up for the heroes. Stand up, Lord, for you. For the heroes. For the heroes. Oh, stand up for the heroes.
Okay, we are here. So, hi, how are you?
I'm good, and how are you, my friend?
I'm very well, thank you for asking. So before we go too far, let's start by asking you to introduce yourself. I obviously have my first question about where did the name come from, but let me introduce yourself first and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, so first of all, I want to say thank you very much for having me here tonight, and just want to say big shout to all your listeners as well. It's I appreciate, obviously, sort of like you guys just taking the time out to tune in with what I'm doing. My name is Dar.Ra. I'm a musician and author. I run the Kusha Deep Music label as well. I've been making records since the 1990s. I was signed to EMI when I was like 18 years old and had a couple of hits with them. Went down to Australia and worked for a couple of record companies down there. We did Festival Records and BMG and did loads of remixes of some of their big artists down there. Came back to the UK in 2003, set up Kusha Deep Records. Because obviously there was a massive change in the industry, so I made this label a home to all the things that I've been doing ever since. And so it's got a track record of sort of whatever, how many years now? It's like 18 years. It doesn't seem like that. It seems like an eye blink. So, I've just been, creating what I feel is my sound. I got a great review today from a magazine called Jukebox Mind in America, and they said, you can tell that, using obviously my name Dar.Ra, that I've been busy carving a niche for myself. I'm not making. I could easily make dance records, and I could easily kind of do stuff that everybody else is doing, but I choose not to because that's the easy route. So I don't. If you're doing killer remixes, I'd rather. Because I've done those. I've done remixes, and I've worked with some really top people over the years, and I know that I can do that. But if it's better for me to specialize in what I do, and then have somebody that's their game. That's what they do. They do either kind of like, hip hop, drill, or whatever it is that kind of I'm interested in that, and I'll just be farming stuff out to people to go, because that's their tip. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about me basically just finding what I do as an artist, and so when you come to a show or you come to listen to my stuff, you're getting something that's unique.
Yes, no, that's perfect. Because I suppose that's what it is nowadays, that a lot of people, there's a lot of not copywritten, but borrowing from tunes that we've heard and all these different things. And I've heard a few of your tracks, and I actually even heard well, just before you joined, that's why I was slightly late. I was listening to the Silent Night track, right. You said, and
yeah, nice.
It's a completely different take on it. I'm like, oh, it's very interesting, different to anything you've ever heard before. But my first question really is actually, so what's the inspiration behind the name Dar.Ra?
So really, that growing up in England, I'm not actually from England. I was born in Ireland, and I have a mixture of kind of Irish, and my mother was kind of a mixture of German and Dutch and Farsi. So I grew up in England, you know what I mean, with a different name, and then it was hard to kind of get people to actually be able to accept something that wasn't John or Peter. Do you know what I mean? And so over the years, I just got kind of fed up with people pronouncing my name wrong. So it's just an abbreviation of my actual name, because I just thought Dar.Ra spells Dar.Ra with a dot there. So you go Dar.Ra, and it makes it kind of easy. But, when I was, the full spelling, the Irish spelling is Darragh so that AGH on the end used to really throw people, Dar.Ra, and they just pronounce it wrong. So I just cut the GH off it, abbreviated it, and that's basically what you got. That's what my mum gave me, man. That's the name my mum gave me.
Oh, that's really cool, actually. It's a great abbreviation. It just sounds so like, like somebody
cool.
So familiar.
Well, I'm hoping that is the case, that people, they can. What I've done with Kusha Deep is actually create a global family, and I want to connect in with people from different walks of life, from different places in the world. I want to share ideas. I want to see what unites us. I'm really, that's my mission vibration is really about bringing lots of different people with the same sort of vibration together. That's my tip, and music just happens to be that medium that we can all gather around a campfire and sort of sing a tune together, and just kind of have that one love spirit about us. That's key to what I do.
No, that's absolutely perfect. And let me be the first to welcome you to the family. That is what we're doing. Because we believe, through music, we can definitely unite the world. That's one thing we all share. And regardless of who you are, if it's a good tune, you feel the same energy, you feel the same vibe, you feel happy with everybody else around you. You stop thinking about anything, or is that person black, is that person white, where are they from, what's their accent from, you know, everybody just unite to that
That's
one
right.
thing. And that's, we think we can definitely, hopefully together we'll save the world. We'll make it all a better place, right?
Yeah, and look, I grew up with that belief. I think, you know, I grew up with kind of bands that were doing, you know, the two-tone ska thing, the Specials, Madness, The Beat, you know, UB40. Those bands basically were pioneers in bringing cultures together, British, you know, punk rock and sort of ska and reggae together, and bringing communities together across the board. So that seemed to me like that was, you know, you got to remember that was sort of like 80s. So I was like, what, 9, 10 years old. So that was like natural to us. Do you know what I'm saying? It was there wasn't any kind of thought of like non-diversity, because that's basically that's the vibe that we were into. My crew were into that. So we were really into kind of, you know, mixing with other cultures, you know what I'm saying? And we weren't afraid of that. I think that where we are now, you know, with this whole kind of, now it's like diversity has become politicized, you know, understand what I'm saying? And it's almost kind of doing the reverse of what it should do, because it's actually dividing people more to go, you know, do you understand what I'm saying? If you're kind of if the media are kind of swamping people with kind of images and this, that, and the other that kind of don't feel natural, because some of that doesn't feel natural. Do you know what I mean? It feels like there's an agenda at work, right? Which it doesn't need to be like that, because naturally we were coming together anyway. Do you get what I'm saying? Back in the 80s, like you think of the Specials, Nelson Mandela, you know, that when they did that Free Nelson Mandela track, there was no thought of kind of any critical race theory going on. We never even talked about that, because it was just natural that we shared a common belief system. Do you know what I mean? And we were we were united in the thought of freedom for all. It didn't have a name. It was a natural, organic thing. And now I think with what's going on at the moment with the cultural kind of embattlements is actually, it is having the reverse effect. There's people that are kind of suddenly going, this doesn't feel right. It feels like we're all being manipulated by an agenda. And I fear for the unity of kind of I don't even want to say the words. I don't even want to say the word color, because it's actually a divisory thing anyway. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, we shouldn't even be mentioning it. Morgan Freeman said, you want to get rid of racism, stop talking about it. Do you get what I'm saying? And I totally get that, because like I say, going back to the times when we was kids, it didn't seem like there was any difference. We were all just kind of like amalgamating and sharing ideas because of the musical icons that we were listening to. So it was a more natural, organic thing. Do you understand what I'm trying to say here?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, makes sense.
You know, and I just think when things become politicized, you know, particularly in America, like you're in London, right? You're in England, yeah. So you know that, you know, I'm probably talking more about the States than I am the UK in some ways. That, you know, really feels that there's a political battle going on there between sort of, again, I'm not even going to mention color kind of situations, because it's just I just think it kind of belittles a situation into being weaponized. Do you understand what I'm saying? And when people become weaponized, they dig into trenches and they hold positions and they fight to the death. And that's not how we come forward. You know, if you think back to sort of like 1914, the First World War, and British and German soldiers basically came into no man's land singing Silent Night. You know, you mentioned that a minute ago, and that was my inspiration for doing that, was the fact that people are people, and it's only kind of the powers that be that separate us when they want to. When they need us to fight wars, they will separate us and they will make us kind of, you know, because the natural organic thing was for those troops to want to play football against each other. They don't want to fight. Why would they? You know, they were both basically kind of European people. They were both kind of, look, everybody basically wants to kind of like be loved, have a roof over their head, some food in their belly, and some money to maybe have a good time with. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so anything after that is a bit of a bonus, right? Do you know what I'm saying? So we're no different. Whatever kind of you want to say, if you're left or right wing politics, whatever it is, we're no different from each other. We're divided by dogma. And when and that, unfortunately, we haven't got time for it. Do you understand what I'm saying? We don't have time for these arguments anymore because they don't serve a purpose other than to divide us. And we don't have time to be divided. We've got to be coming together as a whole and creating new ideas for the well-being of the whole world. So we're not just affluent here. You know what I'm saying? Everybody should have a share of the kind of of kind of resources. Do you know what I'm saying? And I just, again, when you look at situations, what's happening with the migrant crisis, that's been caused by Western powers. That's not their fault.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? 27 people have died yesterday in the English Channel. That's not their fault. You know what I'm saying? That's not their fault. That's actually the fault of two powers that invaded two sovereign countries and destroyed a homeland on two fronts. And now you've got a mess in the Middle East, and people are trying to get away from it. And they want what we have, which is, we have a beautiful country here. We live in, whatever you want to say about England or Great Britain or whatever you want to call it, this is an amazing place to be. We're very, very lucky and very privileged to live in this country and be able to share ideas and speak our truths. Those people don't have that fortunate vibration, and they're being manipulated also by big kind of game players, big kind of money kind of scenarios going on. So what you're witnessing is such a human tragedy that hasn't been properly addressed, and that is savage in the 21st century to see people on the Belarus border being used as pawns, or even in France. And you've got the best that the French and the British can do is blame each other. Stop the games, get on with sorting out the situation. It's time. Stop it. Those people they're in powerful positions. They're paid for. They have huge salaries, you know what I mean, to do things with, not to play political pawns with people. And that's where I come on to sort of saying that left and right political thinking is a thing of the past, because it doesn't go anywhere but in circles. If you asked your grandfather or anyone who has had lineage in this country or in America or anywhere else, what has politics ever served for anyone apart from the ones right at the top of the tree? Not much, man. Do you know what I'm saying? Because like I can ask, I don't know, say like somebody who's in their 80s now and say, okay, so you've been voting all your life, what's changed? And I guarantee you they say not much. Yeah. So, what's changed is the faces changed and the taxation changed, and everybody at the top got rich, and the people basically who are just going to work and trying to keep their heads above water have been used by an elite force that actually just wants to keep everybody either divided, so we don't share ideas because we're so polarized against each other. And you watch it, if things don't change in our lifetime, if you get reincarnated, if there's such a thing as reincarnation, and we come back, we're still having the same conversation, you'll know that I was right in what I'm saying there. Do you know what I mean? Because if it, do you know what that's what breaks my heart though, right? Is that you just watch human beings going round and round and round and round, and not really kind of like, sure, technology changes, sure, the kind of arguments for sort of, I don't know, climate change has come into the gameplay. Do you know what I mean? That could have been solved years ago, man. Climate change should have been solved, but way back in the day. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's an old argument that's been abandoned. Like when we was kids, they were talking about the ozone layer. You know what I mean? And like, why? So what? Do you remember? And like, so that climate change has been an argument going round and round and round for like 40 or 50 years or whatever it is. I don't know, but. Why didn't anyone do anything about it? Particularly when you think about Britain in the 80s. Britain in the 80s had a lot of money, man. It had a lot of money coming in from North Sea oil, right? So the coppers, or if you like, the treasury had a lot of money to be able to spend, right? they ended up shutting down all the coal mines up north, right? And they divided the country. But instead of actually shutting the coal mines down gradually and replacing it with something else, they just shut them down and left people unemployed. Well, you know, now you've got your country. Then now, since the 80s, you've had a country that's split between the north and the south. That shouldn't be happening. The north should be as affluent as the south. You know what I mean? There should have been huge investment. You know, now they've just let the north down. They've just let them down by basically promising them a railway line, the H2, you know, HS2 lines, that they've now gone back on their promises. And instead of actually going, well, okay, we're not going to do that because actually it's not going to be profitable. But what we are going to do is we're going to improve the lineage here, and we're going to make sure that you've got communications flowing from Leeds to Manchester that are state of the art. Put something else in place and put businesses in there that are going to give people employment and a better standard of living. Do not allow people to be, you know, generation after generation losing hope. That's what I'm talking about, man. Do you know what I mean? And it goes beyond music. It really does go beyond music. What I'm saying, you know, is beyond music, because these are issues that unless we get ourselves together and come together as a people and have these conversations based on honesty and going, what is the right thing for us all to do as a whole? Do you know what I'm saying? Then we're going to be, as I said before, we're going to be, you'll look back on this when you're 90, 100, whatever, however many years you get to live on this planet, on this beautiful planet, but you will look at society and you go, nothing's changed except technology.
Yeah. Which on its own, even that, it's a completely different subject. But let's so I see you obviously love you're passionate about politics, you're passionate about unity, you know, is this the inspiration behind your music? Or because the first track that I heard was the No More Tears.
Yeah, No Time for Tears. Yeah, I mean, again, you know what, since I was signed to EMI Chrysalis when I was 18, and the first record we put out was a track called Reach Out, and that was really sort of like, you know, me saying that not standing for, you know, for people telling you to just accept things as they are and to reach out for change. So at 18 years old, I was thinking kind of like on those levels straight off the bat. Do you know what I mean? I think my first band was a band called Bass Culture, which was a reggae band. I think I was 16 or 17, and I wrote, my first song was called Freedom. And, you know, that was really about, you know, freedom for all political prisoners, particularly Nelson Mandela at the time, and, you know, Lech Wałęsa of Poland, anyone that was standing up for their peoples, for righteousness, you know, for truth, for honesty, then freedom should be the natural vibration of that result. Do you understand me? So I've been thinking on those levels ever since I started writing, because I was influenced, I suppose, by the bands I've told you who were political. The Specials was political, you know, UB40 were political. And then obviously, you know, Robert Nesta Marley, you know, listen to Robert Nesta Marley, you know, listen to those lyrics. So, you know, when you're a kid, right, and you're listening to, you know, I don't know, Redemption Song or Uprising or any of those songs, you know, that goes into your subconscious. So I kind of always thought that was what music was about. I didn't sort of grow up listening to pop music. Do you know what I mean? That wasn't what I was into. You know, there was looking back on it in the 80s and 90s, amazing amounts of great pop music made, but I wasn't really into it. I was more interested in more, you know, stuff that actually was saying something and moving kind of vibes. So again, you know, you're talking from a sort of an age of 10 and 11. Paul Weller, again, in a band called The Jam, was writing political kind of stuff like going underground. I don't get, you know, here's to quote him, I don't get what society gets, so I'm going to go underground, because at the end of the day, I can't be dealing with it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that you're a 10-year-old, 11-year-old kid listening to those lyrics, and we were having different discussions. I don't know what kids, 11-year-olds are talking about now, man, but that's what we were talking about. What does he mean by that? What's that mean? So we were kind of having, I think, you know, we were probably quite a politically switched on generation, you know, and and then that moved into maybe, you know, more esoteric kind of, you know, again, sort of like meeting people along the way who were, you know, who were quite switched on in terms of sort of esoteric knowledge. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, I was reading kind of the Tibetan Book of the Dead again, sort of at 17, 18. So I was reading about, you know, reincarnation and birth, death, rebirth. You know, I'd already read sort of stuff like Karl Marx and all that, you know. So yeah, we were quite sort of switched on and looking for answers, you know what I'm saying? And so of course that's always going to be, you know, par for what I do as a writer and as a producer. I mean, there's been many times when I've been asked to sort of do more commercial projects, you know, as a producer, you know, let's get another Spice Girls together, or let's do Oasis, or let's do this, and I've always turned it down because it's not what I do. It's not what I'm about. You know, I've done this basically for better or for worse. Sometimes I've made money. Most of the time I've not made money. I've kind of put more into it than I have made money out of it. So if I wanted to make money, then I would have been a barrister. Do you know what I'm saying? I should have listened to my mum and gone to law school, because, you know, I could have made a lot more money than sticking with being a musician. But I felt, and I still feel, you know, of course we all want to make money, but I think music is such a sacred thing that you like, for me, only get into the game if you really love it. If you really love it and you want to say something, then get into the game. If you're just doing it because you want to sell perfume, then I don't really see the artistry in it. Do you know what I mean? I just don't. I can't honestly think, if you're thinking multiple streams of income because you've got trainers and this, that, I'm not knocking that, because that's very good entrepreneurial skills, absolutely. But I try to, I'm not convinced that the art kind of gets put first over the sort of selling of the trainers. Do you understand what I'm saying? And therefore you're sort of like, you're more open to manipulation from sort of money. So when a label's, and it's, look, you know how business works, man. When you get a record deal and suddenly somebody's paying the bills, you know, you're in studios like £2,000-3,000 a day studios, and you're getting £1 million advance, and you know, you're now basically owned by a corporate. Then they can tell you what to do and what not to do.
That kind of leads into my next question, really, because obviously when you start off as an artist, you have your own agenda. You have what music you want to make. You have what you want to preach. You know, what you're writing is all yours, is how you feel. But as soon as you get, as you said, if you get signed, then it becomes what they want. And then slowly but surely you will get censored to a level that is acceptable, because some things that you write, they might just think, oh, we can't let our audience listen to that, or that's not going to sell, or that doesn't fit sort of our demographic, or that doesn't fit our sort of our portfolio. We need you to stick within this. So how do you, I know you say you reject them, but how do you go through that whole process of it and thinking, I can't just go and do this and make money, but actually I'm going to stick to what I'm doing because I prefer to tell my own story. But you know, that means you're going to stay on the ground, because as soon as you go into the public world, how do you stop them from censoring you, from letting you?
Well, look, I don't, you know, the thing is that there's many different ways to the top of the mountain, man. Do you know what I mean? And you just got to choose one, and you just got to know where you're at. You know, what's your calling? Do you want to sort of do something that actually means something? You know what I mean? I don't care if it doesn't make £1 million tomorrow, because it's not why I'm doing it. I want you to be able to look back on those tracks and go, you know, that meant something. Those tracks still, listen, reach out, man. That track is nearly 25 years old. You know what I'm saying? That still means something. That track is still deemed as a classic house record. It was a #1 dance record. So, you know, we kind of, you know, we probably sold 50, 60,000 copies of that. You know, it was a top 40 UK record. You know, I've had #1s as well. But you know what? You learn to write subliminally when you're in that situation. So you're learning to sort of write in a way that you kind of almost coding. So your people know. Do you understand what I'm saying? you know. So you're kind of people are looking for the clues, and your clues are sort of like in the lyrical kind of formats, and you can be clever with what you say. You don't have to be blatant about stuff, but you can be clever, and it's all about, you know, when people kind of clock, like for instance, when I go back to Paul Weller, that was a #1 record going underground, but look at the things he said in there. Most people aren't listening to the lyrics, they're just listening to the tune. But I'm talking to the people that are listening to the lyrics, and they want to go deeper with you on a journey. And I'm not, you know, as I say, my kind of vibe is, you know, it's about freedom of choice. It's about, if you want to just kind of like live your life on a surface level and not ask any questions, that's up to you, man. That's, you know, I'm not forcing you to listen to what I've got to say. You don't have to believe anything I'm saying. That the choice is about you going out and doing your research and having your own feeling. I'm not here to tell you what to do, and neither should anybody else. But we should have a common kind of like a common understanding of light and dark, and within that framework, we work towards kind of a vibe that yields a positive result. Do you get me?
You know, absolutely. That is a great answer right there. So kind of, well, as time is going really quickly, we're kind of wrapping up. Just wondering if, well, I know you've been doing a lot of talking and you've been doing a lot of rapping, and just wonder if you could do a little performance for us. Just you know.
Yeah, sure. I wasn't sort of expecting to do anything, but I'll tell you what. Let me do a song quickly. I haven't even tuned the guitar up, but let's have a quick go. I wrote this for all the people basically that came through the pandemic, who, you know, like the nurses, the doctors, the people that were picking up the refuse, the people in the banks, the people in the supermarkets, all the people that went out to work and basically didn't have PPE. This is called Stand Up for the Heroes. Stand up for the heroes. Ooh, yeah. I gotta tell you the way that I'm feeling. I can't believe the things I'm seeing. Word is unsteady on this feet. The weak may try to hold back the tide. You know we got to stand up for the heroes. Stand up for all those who give their tomorrows. Stand up for the heroes. When it came to the call, the wings carried us on. Oh, 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 yeah. I'll never forget the faces falling in battle, but never lost to me. Never has been so much food to so few. No, no, no. I swear that sacrifice won't be replaced, but I'll try. Oh, yes, I'll try. Stand up for the heroes. Stand up for all those who gave their tomorrows. Stand up for the heroes. When it came to the call, the wings carried us all. Come on, stand up. Oh, Lord, you are the heroes, are the heroes. Oh, oh, stand up for the heroes.
Wow. Wow. That is absolutely amazing. That is, that is really, really, really amazing. You know, the lyrical content is so deep. Wow. I felt that, you know, and your delivery, that is it. The passion you delivered it with. You're a star. Absolutely superstar. Thank you so much for that performance.
Thank you so much.
So yeah, well,
you know what? Do you know what, man? I love. You know, I'm just feeling such a buzz, just even sort of being able to do that with you guys and feel that energy coming back, man. You know, there's a real spirit energy there. You know what I'm saying? It's a real spirit. You can't really put it into words. It's a spirit energy, and I'm blessed by God, man. That's it. I don't do it. I get my channeling from God. You know what I'm saying? I just believe in something greater than what I do, and I'm just here to channel and to kind of hopefully galvanize us all and bring us all together as one. And let's move this on. Let's not just keep going round and round in circles, and let's be truthful, let's be honest and have these debates. That's what we need. We need to be able to speak and talk and share ideas, because that's the way we will forge forward as a whole. You know, I swear to God, you know, when we channel through from the highest to the high, righteousness, truth and honesty will flow. And that's what I'm about, man.
Oh no, this is absolutely such a pleasure to have you on the set. So just as a closing remark, thank you so much for obviously coming, and it was such a pleasure. It's such a pleasure to have you on. And
God bless you, man. God bless you.
Definitely we'll have you on again, because I see you pop out your music. It's a bit like Pringles, isn't it? They just keep popping out. Once you stop, you can't stop. So I can't wait for what's in the pipeline. So
no, I'm cool, man. I'm cool to come through and sort of work with you, man, and sort of like, you know, I mean, I haven't played that song for about 6 or 7 months, so it's quite sweet that I actually be able to pull that off, because I hadn't really prepped for it. But you know, I'm happy. I'll prepare up some material and I'll go live. We'll do 3 or 4. I'll go into the studio, which is next door, and we'll do some live stuff with some backing stuff if you want. We can have a bit of a proper show kind of tip kick in there. We can do a little bit of acoustic. We can do some live backing track stuff, but you can get a flavour of the material. You know what I'm saying? And we can have a little bit of a jam, and maybe, oh, this is the tip I needed to say. So I've got No Time for Tears is actually on an album called We Salute You. There's 18 other artists on board. It's going out on a label called Hangover Hill Records, and it's basically raising money for returned servicemen and women who are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. And it's if you go to my pages, which obviously you'll have my socials anyway, but I can put you through to the label, and if you want to support, every penny will go towards helping people.
Yeah, so for us really, we're music industry. We're more like a music station, so we're not that into the commercial music. You know, they're great music, there's a lot of great music out there, and a lot of great musicians,
of course,
but we are more catered for those artists, mainly up and coming artists, those underground artists, and those that just have that talent but can't seem to get their voice out. That is what we're here for, just to empower those artists.
Amazing.
And you know, a big part that we think actually we can also provide, because as we say, we're global. We have artists from all over the world. Send their tracks to us, we review them, we promote them as much as we can. But it also gives the opportunity for collaboration. And I think that was going to be my next question to you, really. Are you an artist that just prefer to do your own thing, you know, write your own lyrics, you know, if you got the talent to do it all, obviously, or are you somebody that do accommodate other artists to think, oh yeah, I like your style, Let's
Yeah.
start with producer. What sort of
Yeah, it's a really good question, and it's a very timely question, because actually I've got to a point where I am definitely looking to collab with lots of different people and work on different elements of kind of musicality. I think because I've had a few kind of partnership issues in the past, particularly been signed to record labels with other people, and you sort of, run into egos and kind of, that's probably what made me become quite insular for quite a few years and want to just basically do everything, like, write, produce, record, mix, master. Do you know what I mean? So I kind of spent a lot of time basically learning a lot of different things, and and I'm a pretty good all-rounder, because obviously I run my label, so I know how to make a record, put it that way. But I'm definitely getting to a stage where, of course, I've farmed stuff out I've worked with lots of session people, but I'm open to work with some new artists. I've just reached out to another guitar player to just say, look, do you fancy just kind of working, just literally hear some of my new stuff and bounce some ideas back. So yeah, and I met a string quartet, and we were up in Cheshire a couple of days ago. Went to see a couple of shows, and I met a string quartet, and just amazing kind of classical kind of vibe, which I just thought would really suit No Time for Tears to be rescored. So I'm sort of kind of working on that with those guys to get like string arrangements, because I think what would be really powerful to do would be, rather than just go out and be another rock or soul band or whatever, is to actually do a tour that's actually more just could you imagine what you just heard there with a cello and three violins would just be insane, and it would be so organic, like hardly mic'd up, literally just in a beautiful kind of like auditorium with really good echoes and sort of reverbs, if you like. And I just think that would excite me more than going out and doing this sort of same old, the drummer doing the sounding the drums and the bass and the whole shebang, which is all good and it's good fun, but because I've done it so much, I'm just looking for fresh challenges. And I think that I would be more excited at doing a US tour with a string quartet than I would doing a full rock and roll thing. Do you know what I mean? So I just think it'd be more interesting. Do you know what I'm saying? And also just having scores that are really doing, like, I'm really into I do listen to a lot of classical music now. Do you know what I mean? I've always kind of been into it, but I'm like, when I'm driving, I'm listening to classic FM mostly now. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I find it more expansive. I find, like, if you're listening to sort of like, I don't know, Mozart, for instance, you know what I mean? Like, to some people that would sound trippy, but I just find it really expansive for my mind, because I can tell you where a beat's going. I can tell where a beat's going probably in 2 bars. And I know if that 2 bars is going to go on for 4 or 5 minutes, then I'm going to be pretty bored. Do you know what I'm saying? And you're going to have to be a pretty good, like, rapper in terms of sort of saying something that I've not heard before to keep me entertained. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because I'm looking for, if I was to say, for instance, I was to work with, say, let's say hypothetically, like somebody who's, into the rap game or this, that, and the other, I'd be looking at spinning that completely, like taking that apart, that whole process, and spinning it on its head and going, okay, so that's a good lyric. But how do we twist that so it becomes much more of an expansive experience for people, so it becomes transcendental. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I'd be looking at what that delivery is. How do we break that up? How do we turn that round? How do we do something that's slightly different, so it's not just the same delivery that you've heard over and over again? That's how I'd be looking to twist if I was working with, like, that kind of tip, anything like that. R&B singers, I'd be looking at the same thing. I'm like, you've heard gospel done 1,000 billion times. Gospel has been ruined by commercialism. Once upon a time, you heard a gospel choir, you go, wow. Now you hear it and you think, I heard that on 1 million house records. And it's heartbreaking, because it's a beautiful, pure thing, right? And that's why I think when you look at sort of like the reaction of kind of gospel you know, the gospel kind of communities in the sort of 50s and 60s, when a lot of those singers started to break out and start having commercial hits, like the Arifas and those kind of cats were coming out. I could understand why it irked them, because they're thinking, this is a pure form of vibration, and you're now opening it up to a diluted vibe that you're now selling out. And now, after sort of listening to, say, gospels for the last 50 or 60 years, particularly what the house movement music did to gospel, and where people will go, oh, let's just get a gospel choir in. It's lazy, man. You know, it's just lazy. And so even with that sort of thing, you know, it's a way. I've got to look at a way of actually if I was again working with that, how do I do something? I'm always looking, how do we do something new here? How do we recreate a gospel vibration, for instance, that hasn't been done in the way that we've heard it over the last 50 years? But we don't. If I was working with gospel, of course, I'd be looking at the absolute spiritual angle on that, of like, what's our game plan here? What are we trying to get across? Right, that's the pure form of it. Now let's create an epic opera for it. So we look at the story, like I'm a storyteller as well. So we look at the storyline of like, okay, so we're now going to talk about, you know, the 12 tribes of Israel or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? So we're going to tell the story of the 12 tribes of Israel, and we're going to break it into a storyline that moves and has an organic kind of like movement, an organic kind of like sine wave that kind of takes you on a journey and lifts you and leaves you in a promised land of hope. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's what. So when you talk about collaboration, I have to kind of go, how I've got to turn that around to do something that I've not heard before, and to leave the listener in a land of transcendence. That's my tip, man.
Yeah, no, that absolutely makes sense. So you're not just going to collaborate just because of the fun of it, or because,
you know what, even if you was to say, listen, Adele wants to do a tune with you, I'd be going, listen, I really love what you do, but it's been, you know, the piano vocal thing's great, but what can we do that you haven't done before? What can we do lyrically that you might not have touched on before? What can we do that you haven't sort of done before, which would be maybe, I don't know, you know, again, sort of coming back to maybe more of an edgy guitar kind of flavor with her, or something that kind of, you know, would trigger something different to go, oh, Adele's doing something else. Do you know what I mean? So again, you know, it'd be pointless for me to make another record that Adele already's just made. I'm not saying that she doesn't make great records, but again, the challenge would be, what do we do that's not been done before? And that's a challenge every time you write a song. You know, it's like every time you write, you know, there's a lot. I've got a songbook here, man, of like, see all those songs. Most of those haven't even been recorded, right? There's probably about 200-300 songs just sitting in that book that haven't even been recorded yet, because possibly I haven't got the right angle on it, or it's something that I might have heard somewhere before. So I'll just go, that's not going to happen until I can come back to that with a fresh angle on it and do something that. And also, again, it's, you know, what I try and do is my little rule is it has to be live at the same time. I've got to be able to do what I just did for you. I can't just go, oh, I can't do it because I haven't got my computer with me. I have to be able to play it on a piano or play it. So there's a little bit of a rule there. Do you know what I mean? But the majority of my production would be turning things on its head in terms of performance. And that's why if you listen to sort of my stuff, man, it's changed so much. Yeah, I went through reggae kind of when I was a kid. I got into house music. I got signed making house records. I got back into rock and roll. You know, I got back into my reggae, but I was merging reggae rock. Then I was merging rock and EDM, making this rock step flavor on You Kind of Normal album. You know, gothic soul kind of tips with, you know, do you see what I'm saying? I'm constantly looking at what have I not done? What have I not heard? So dubstep with kind of reggae, or dubstep with opera, or do you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm trying to say here? I'm trying to, just totally trying to spin my brains.
Just infusing different type of music, just create that cocktail. That's pretty. That's really
Do you know what I really love as well, right? I love the like desert. There's a desert guitar rock vibe that you hear in Morocco, and you hear in sort of like the northern kind of like African countries, where I call it desert rock, but it's really it's very trancey. It's kind of like beautiful, kind of like almost like high life kind of guitar riffs, but just this very hypnotic kind of groove that goes along with it. And it's, you know, if you heard that out in the sort of sub-Sahara on a night where the winds were blowing and that, you know, you'd be again transcendently lifted into a sort of a different realm. You know, that I love that kind of vibe as well. I'd love to work on some stuff like a desert orchestra was what I'd call it. Do you know what I mean?
nice. That's actually maybe that would lead me into my next question as to dead or alive. If you could choose that one artist to do a kick-out show with, who would it be?
Fela Kuti.
Oh.
Fela Kuti, probably, yeah. Someone down in that, you know, an African artist, African genius. Do you know what I mean? Someone, you know, someone different out of the blue. Do you know what I'm saying? That I love a lot of the African kind of music that comes through as well. I think African sort of like popular music will probably take over in the next 10 years. Do you know what I'm saying? Because it's unheard. We've done, you know, Western sort of music has been really nailed to the kind of mast, if you like. And I think the sort of like ears need something new, and I think what's happening in Africa kind of, I don't even want to use the word pop, but I think, you know, the African popular music that's coming through is unbelievable. It really is. It's because it's really organic and it's electric and it's live and it's passionate, and it's, I think, again, sort of like it's like R&B's, please don't shoot me down on this, but it's tired. You know what I mean? That whole tired rap music is tired, rock music's tired, Western music is tired, and we either need like revolutionary lyrics, you know, which what you heard there, or we need to kind of be looking at doing, you know, incorporating other things to make that rejuvenate itself. Because like I say, you know, I'm listening to classical FM because I don't hear much stuff that actually really excites me. Do you know what I'm saying? I just don't think people are reaching deep enough for lyrical content that's going to blow my mind. You know what I'm saying? That's going to make me think, like, I want to hear your kind of view on the world and how we can change it for the better. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I don't want to hear about, you know, do you know what I mean? I want to hear about solutions. So I want to hear the brothers talking about solutions rather than, do you know what I mean? Like kind of the everyday kind of like ghetto experience is important to hear, but I think I'd like to hear more solutions in that lyric to go, things are tough in this situation. However, I've got a plan. I got a plan for all, you know what I'm saying? I've got a plan for all of us, brothers and sisters, and that plan means we work together as a whole, and we come forward as a whole, and we bring each other up as a whole. And I'm not just talking about one, I'm talking about as a whole, as everyone. We have a plan for everyone, because, you know, when we look at, you know, if you look at manifestation, the power of manifestation, you manifest things because of your thought processes. Like, you'll manifest £1 million if you believe you're worth £1 million. Do you understand what I mean? And, you know, that kind of, so manifesting kind of like obvious things like cars and boats and helicopters is just obvious. Do you know what I'm saying? But if you're manifesting money to help your community rise, to have a better standard of life, then that's a life worth lived for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, just, yeah, that's what it's about, man. It's not about just you kind of like putting a massive gold chain around your neck and sort of running around in a car and sort of, you know, yeah, sure, that's great. There was a guy, I don't know if you know this name, a guy called Osho, and he was an Indian spiritual leader. He was a very, very popular guy. He was very good at kind of like translating Indian Vedic doctrines from Sanskrit into English, right? So obviously we all had a chance to kind of, he was a very switched on guy. And he did an amazing thing where he manifested something like 10 Rolls Royces. right? He just basically went, I'm going to show you how to manifest without basically kind of having to go into ripping people off or doing anything like that. I'm going to show you how to honestly manifest 10 Rolls Royces. And literally, he went into a deep state of meditation, and literally sort of within a space of time, 10 Rolls Royces turned it up, which he was just donated. Oh, and it's just, do you see what I'm saying? The power of your belief system. So, but he had these 10 Rolls Royces. He didn't want them. He didn't care about them. He gave them away in the end because it didn't mean it. Do you see what? But he did it as an exercise to show you that you can have materialism if you want it, but don't believe in it. Don't let that be your God, because otherwise you're ruled by you know, third dimensional objects rather than your true spiritual calling. So do you see what I'm saying? When you're thinking clearly, you can manifest all the gold you ever wanted, right? But when you're really thinking clearly, you'll go, okay, so I've manifested that gold. Now what am I going to do with it to benefit other people? So you look at the teachings of Jesus Christ, for instance, do you know what I mean? Like Jesus could manifest like this. Here's the deal, right? You look at the story of the 5,000 fishes, right? He fed 5,000 people with fishes. Now that is a story about total manifestation in the time of need, because he believed he could do it and he did it. All right. So you look at the Bible, and the Bible was telling us how to manifest, but we just heard that as a pretty story. But when you go into it deeply, you go, Jesus was an amazing manifester, but he was manifesting to feed his people. Do you see what I'm saying? Like that's a power that we go beyond base. See, if, say, for instance, me and you went out hunting, right, and you were in competition with me to hunt, we would do better if we joined up and hunted together. Do you see what I'm saying? Because you're going to go, right, I know where that is and I know where that is. And if you get it, I'll share it with you. And if you get it, I'll share it with you. So therefore, we then work as a team. Do you get what I'm saying here? So what I'm trying to say is, like, when you look at Osho, or you look at Jesus, or you look at any master, spiritual master, they're showing you that you can do this by the power of your thinking. So literally, you know, you can, once you start going beyond your survival thinking, which is a small part of the back of the brain, which is basically competition, and I'm going to basically get it before you get it. That actually, what that does is it actually makes you tight. So you tighten up and everything's yours. It's a power kind of control game. And when that tightness is there, you watch how many people who get rich, who play that number, become poor again. They either lose the money through drink, drug and alcohol, or sex, right? Or somebody rips them off and they lose it all. But you look at the people who've manifested, and they manifest and they actually go, right, I'm now going to tithe that into my kind of like my greater good, right? They're the ones that survive. They're the ones that actually end up going, you know, to another dimension with their gains. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because they realize that, you look at the Buddhists and they make, like, for instance, they know that everything is transitory. So they don't build pyramids here, man. Do you know what I mean? Because they know that they're going to be here for a small period of time, really, which is, you know, if you're lucky, you're going to get to 80, 90 and still be cool, still be able to run around a park, right? You know, but it's, so they know that there's no point in building, you know, these empires that actually you're going to die anyway. So what's the point of you kind of being so caught up on that becomes your only reality, when actually, when you start thinking of less about yourself and then more about the benefit of others, more comes to you, man. More comes to you, and you don't have to exploit other people because you're living in abundance. Do you know what I'm saying? You cast your, you know, what is that other Bible? Cast your net and ye shall receive. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because the world this is a place of beauty. This is a Garden of Eden. Let's go back to the Garden of Eden story. This isn't a place of scarcity. You put a seed in the ground, man, and it will grow. So why are we worried about scarcity when the beauty of nature gives everything we've ever wanted? It's only people that have gone, we're going to create scarcity. So again, we come back to that divisionary thinking and that thought that I'm going to get that plant before, or that piece of meat before you do, because somehow along the line, we've thought about, there's not going to be enough for me. So we get into this fear. And again, it comes back, you start seizing up, and every day you're out hustling and you want to cut somebody up because somebody's got something that you want. And that's a short road to hell.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It's a short road to hell. You're not going to, even if you do start making it in that world, you know what I mean? You're going to be looking over your shoulder all the time. You're never going to be at peace. You're never going to wake up in the morning and be able to just, look out of your window and go, God, that's a beautiful morning. Thank you, Lord. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you're so wrapped up.
Yeah, my uncle used to say, he used to say, if you have a road, he says, show me a road with no obstacles, and I'll show you a dead end. The road, if it looks all gold and all paved and everything, it's more than likely not going to be the right way. It's just,
well, again, you have to trust your intuition. But if you've been brought up, if your family have brought you up with a kind of an understanding of what I'm trying to say, which most people who have kind of been through, I don't know, who have read the Bible or read the Quran will have they'll have a basic understanding of kind of what I'm trying to say here. Do you know what I'm saying? And it doesn't really matter, where you're at in terms of religious vibrations. Do you know what I'm saying? The truth is there. What I've just said is, if you plant, you can share. And I mean that. I mean, we live in a planet of abundance. Do you understand what I'm saying?
You give and you will receive. That is just that is just
I was listening to the news today, and it was talking about Ethiopia is about to go into another civil war, and you just think to yourself, there's a country basically that's gone through so much suffering, a country that once upon a time was a paradise that has been made hell through human activity, that through one side thinking that their ideology is the right ideology, and who suffers in the middle is the people. And it's tragic to think in 2021 that even after the huge famines of the 80s, that country is still in turmoil. And that is tragic to think that.
And that's when I was younger, there used to be this saying that say where two elephants are fighting, it says it's the grass that suffers. But everybody, even when you're looking onto it, you just see the two elephants fighting. Yeah. But you don't never really consider everything underneath them, all the living things underneath them. They're the ones that are really suffering, Yes. But all the media is going to show you is, oh yeah, look at this. But no, actually the deep story behind it is actually there. We just won't see it, or sometimes it's not because we don't see it. We just choose not to. We choose to ignore it because it doesn't quite sit with our soul. We would rather not know that somebody's out there starving.
Exactly. And I don't know how you switch the switch on. I don't know, because you go back to Jesus and you think, Jesus was look, whether you believe in Jesus existed or not, I think I believe that he did, and I think the teachings that he left behind were extraordinary. I think that all the kind of codes for life were laid down by what he did in his life, and he walked, as I say, righteously, in truth, love and harmony. And unfortunately, even the power of Christ couldn't switch on the light for humanity, because the people at the time who were given the choice to choose whether they were going to choose Jesus or Barabbas, who was a criminal, who was and they chose Barabbas over Jesus. And that blows my brain. That blows my mind, because I'm just going, where is humanity to 2,000 years ago, or whatever it was? Do you know what I mean? That would be the choice, that you would choose a murderer over a Messiah, as somebody that comes and walks in love and light, who has already proved that you can do great things on this planet, and you would rather choose somebody who was murdered to get ahead over somebody that fed you? What is the matter with human thinking? I don't know if I'm ever going to sort of understand it until the day I die. I just don't think I'm going to be understand it.
I think it's still the same as of today. You know, if you do something that is popular with the masses, then yeah, everybody's like, yeah, we're on your side. But as soon as you start talking about, you know, anything, you know, you really talk about global warming, or we're talking right now about actually you and you fighting each other, you are not fighting, it doesn't affect you because you're going home to your kids, you're doing this, but all these people are, you know, those opinions are not popular. So yeah, you're going to just get crucified. That's it. It's 2021 years ago, and right now it's still the same. As you said, nothing is changed apart from technology is getting better.
We're getting clever at killing each other. Do you know what I mean? Well, and I think, you know, it's I don't know. You know, that will be the thing. I will sort of like when I step out of this body. That will be, you know, that last moment. I will cry a tear for humanity if things haven't changed, because it's just sad, because it just means that we're never we as a race of people, call yourself whatever you want to call yourself, do you know what I mean? But we're all human beings at the end of the day. And if that switch can't get switched on at some point very soon, then this beautiful planet isn't going to be there for us anymore. Do you understand what I'm saying? You know, and I think the time is running out. That's the sad thing. I think the time is running out. The wars have not solved anything. They never were going to solve anything. The digging for fossil fuels basically kept us going for so long, but now we're paying the price for it, you know. And as I say, you know, we can't not have conversations either, debates of ideas to drive these situations forward, to be honest enough to say we've made mistakes, to be honest to say we've all made mistakes. But let's really kind of go, we made mistakes, but let's move on. We need to move on very, very quickly, because more wars is not going to solve anything. So hear what's going on in Ethiopia today, and people are basically being, you know, murdered by both sides. It's, as I say, you know, very, very heartbreaking to see and hear what's going on there, to see people drowning in the Indus Channel, you know, when they want to, you know, regardless of what, you know, who it was, where it was, who they are, you know, that's human beings, man. Do you know what I'm saying? You know, on our coast, and it's you know, to come back to what I said, you've got politicians playing point scoring when human beings are dying. This is no laughing matter. This is no, you can't just kind of go to the pub, man, and just drink, have a pint or two or three or four and think that is acceptable. That you can't go to bed tonight and not think of those people that are not going to wake up tomorrow. You know, you can't do it. Otherwise, what are you as a human being? I mean, like, you know, as I say, it's frustrating, because, you know, we're musicians, we're artists, you know, we talk. Sometimes people think we might talk on different levels, but it's very frustrating when you've got politicians that are paid, as I say, lots of money to do a job, and they won't do it properly. We need to make amends, man. Do you know what I mean? We need to be brave enough to say, you know, out in the Middle East particularly, we made huge mistakes. You know what I mean? Huge mistakes. I mean, I remember when that whole thing was kicking off, and there was a million of us marching against those wars. Do you know what I'm saying? That we said, no, we don't want it to be, we don't want this. It's not going to solve anything. It wasn't like we didn't stand up against it. But now you've got a whole generation of boys and girls that have grown up watching kind of Western violence in the Middle East, and they're looking at revenge. You know, as I said, I had a conversation the other day. You know, it's not hard to understand why Muslim kids want revenge on the West. You know, you just got to remember that life is, you know, don't allow your memory to forget what happened in Iraq and what happened in Afghanistan. Don't forget that was, you know, those countries got obliterated by kind of, you know, by basically this country and the US. They got obliterated. There's no apologies for that. Do you know what I'm saying? You know, and then you see, you know, you're seeing a crisis that's been caused due to very big businesses being involved in kind of these skirmishes, which have caused displacement on a massive scale. And now we've got to own up to it and go, you know, we've got to own up to it and go, but the people, it shouldn't be the people that pay for it. It should be the politicians that ushered that in, and all the companies that make fortunes out of those conflicts. Because, yeah, I could go through all those company names with you right now, but I'm not going to do it. But they know who they are. They know who they are, and they should be the ones paying for the rebuilds.
I think that we all know who they are, but I suppose we've gone way out of where we're meant to be. But as you said, these things do have to be said, and you know, how else are people going to hear it if it's not spoken about by people that actually can influence and can make a few changes? You know, you have a few followers, we have a few followers, and until when people actually hear that, it is a serious problem. It's not something that you can't just brush under the carpet. We do need to
I think you have to kind of, you know, you have to kind of look at these situations and work out, you know, I don't know, you know, instead of kind of encouraging people to do that thing, we've got to look at the countries that have been desecrated again. And that doesn't have to necessarily just mean kind of, you know, the countries I've mentioned. We have to look at Africa as well and go, what's going on there? And we've got to, like, I think we've been braver to kind of look at creating kind of situations in those countries that become, why can't we make those countries beautiful places to be? Do you know what I mean? Why can't we, instead of kind of just giving foreign aid away to people that we don't know where it goes to, why can't we have a proper setup that we go, okay, so there's a problem in Somalia, for instance, right? Let's have a look at that. I know there's massive problems there, but these are the conversations. When you look at sort of the World Economic Forum, for instance, and you've got all the billionaires, trillionaires, and the governments all around the world, you know, coming up with these amazing ideas for whatever it is, you know what I mean? Why aren't those people looking at these? Why aren't they having these conversations to go, well, these are situations, these are places that actually need huge investment. So, you know, let's use a kind of a system that does put aside for rebuild, you know, and it happens. It doesn't just get lost in the kind of the mire. You know, we look at, because I think this is the tip, right? If you want to use the word globalism, globalism is kind of used in a way that benefits the corporates, right? So it benefits globalism, it opens up doorways so there's less tax to pay, or it's easier to do whatever they do. That's globalism, if you like. It just whitewashes over the kind of like whatever the situation is, and it allows them to exploit a situation. That's what globalism is. But what if globalism meant something completely different? What if globalism meant that actually we look at the world as a whole and we go, let's support as a whole, more affluent countries go, let's support the countries that actually need some love and attention to kind of create avenues of well-being, so that affluence is there for everybody. Because if we balance the world out like that, then you wouldn't have kind of people running away from their countries. Why would they want to do it? They would be inviting us to go and spend time in Somalia because it's such a beautiful place to be. Why isn't it? So do you see what I'm saying? And
well, I think it all boils down to the fact that once you fixed it, then there's no more money in it, you know. But if you don't fix it, you can always keep asking and go, yeah, these kids need water in Somalia.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree.
They've been showing that same kid since I was 2 years old. He's always needing water. What's going on here? Well, have you not given enough money to? But you know, I think we are running out of time. I think we definitely need to come back for another session of a more political talk and actually addressing different situations.
Sure.
A much longer chat.
I mean, the thing is, you're not going to just, with me, you're not going to just be talking about music, because it's like, you know, we know music does what it does. Do you know what I'm saying? But there are issues that I think are more important. I hope other artists are going to kind of come on your show and follow suit and talk about what they feel as solutions, rather than how great am I at making a record. Do you know what I mean? That's boring. It's been done. So I want to, I think artists need to be sort of talking more on these levels than just about, how great they are in a studio, or how great they are at sort of like, because that's just an ego gig. It's all that is just basically an ego boost, basically. And I just think that, use your platform for doing what we're doing now, which is actually talking about issues that really need to be talked about. And I'm not about people making money, but what I'm about is like, make as much money as you want, man, but make sure that somebody else benefits as well alongside that. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, man. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, be fair, and be fair to your community, and just walk with, when you're walking with more love in your heart, man, more stuff comes to you. Bear in mind what I told you about Osho and Jesus, the manifestation stories. That's how you manifest. Like, that it's, you look at the law of attraction, it was in the Bible 2,000 years ago. I rest my case, man. We don't have to be living in scarcity and primitive thinking. That's the truth of it. No, righteousness, truth, love, and honesty, and manifestation of great things will happen as a result of you walking in the right way. Do you understand? Like tonight, we've raised the vibration. So I know that if I come and hang out with you, brother, I know that we could make ideas really happen, like really happen. Do you know what I'm saying? Because we're coming from the same vibration. There's a one love vibration there, and the truth will always rise to the top. You understand me?
That is it. No, absolutely. I've been truly, really, really inspired by this interview. Can't wait to go and watch it back again. Just because there are a lot of great points that you pulled out there. That said, we are skinning off the tip of time here. So thank you so much for coming and sharing all those great experiences with us. I want
to wish you, brother, all the best, man. What you're doing is a beautiful thing. I really mean that. It's a beautiful thing. You give me goosebumps, man, just hanging out and talking with you. I want to wish all your listeners, well-being, sanity, the joys of abundance, good health, and looking out for everybody.
Power Ace Radio.